Welcome guys, thanks for popping in. I'm super excited to be doing this video today. I had been focusing on beginner stuff. Today I am throwing a trifecta of curveballs at you. We're going to jump into some complex JavaScript, and I'm going to throw three things all at once. So if you like this video, if you find it helpful or interesting, give a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, click, and you will be notified of the next video release. So what is it I'm talking about today? Let's get right into the example, but what I'm talking about is going to be immediately invoked function expressions, JavaScript closures, and lexical scoping. So what the heck am I talking about? If you want to follow along with this example, go to w3schools.com or fire up whatever development environment you want. I'm just going to use this try it yourself editor because it's quick and lets me get right to the nitty-gritty of the video. So I'm going to put up an example that makes use of all three concepts at once. So hold on tight, warm up your fingers, and pay close attention because this is going to get crazy. So let's open this script up here, and I'm gonna borrow some of this out of here though. So what we're gonna do is let's type const counter, and what we're going to assign this to is an anonymous function. Okay, and I'm going to close that off, and then I'm going to call it immediately. So let's just kind of do this piece by piece. So this is an anonymous function wrapper, and this syntax that I'm using here is also at the same time an immediately invoked function expression, which means that immediately when the code gets to this point, it's going to run that anonymous function. And then what this will be a reference to whatever that function returns. Okay? So for those that are not aware of what scoping is, in most programming languages, you have two kinds of scope. You have a global scope, which would be a variable that is available across the entire application. And then you'd have a function scope, whereas that would be a variable available to a particular function, and when that function is done running, that variable is no longer available. So inside of here, let's type we'll call this private counter. This is kind of similar to Java in that regard. I'm going to use, this is something you can kind of do with Java. And then so inside of here, I'm also going to create another function called change by, and that takes a value. And what I'm going to do in here is, I'm just going to take that variable and I'm going to add whatever value is passed. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now I'm going to return, from this function an object. And what that object is going to have is an increment property that returns change. Let's make that camel case. Change by, and also as I'm typing this stuff and as you guys are following along, I also want to point out that this is the same sort of logic that state, specifically like React State, is built on. It's using this concept of lexical scoping and JavaScript closures. And we're going to decrement, and that is going to call change by and we're going to pass it -1. Oops. And for those that don't know, when you do that, essentially what you're doing is you're taking 1 away. And then if I was really trying to copy what the concept of state, you would also just return the value, which would be private counter. Okay. So let's go up here and let's create another button. We'll copy that, paste that. And, well, like I said, we're going to borrow this out too. So let's cut that out. Can delete the rest of that function. But in here, let's add this here. And let's see, add one will be blue. We'll change this to blue. And let's add this x.text content and just assign it this private counter. Okay, and then come down here and we'll do the same thing. And I'm probably making a syntax error here or there, so we'll probably have to go through and double check everything here because I'm trying to go fast. But let's leave that red and grab this line and add that. And then up here inside of these, let's change this to counter.increment and counter.decrement. Now you can see when I click the button increment, let's change this to up, down, up, down. Now you can see as I'm clicking these buttons using these on-click handlers here, that if I click the up button, the text here, the number here is going up in value, and if I click down, it's going down in value. Now, whoa, what is going on here, right? Like, how does this even work? So what a closure is in JavaScript is essentially these brackets, okay? And everything inside of that closure is typically available inside of just inside of that closure. But with JavaScript, we have what's called lexical scoping, and all of these things inside of this body, inside of the body of the anonymous function, are available outside of it because you have the anonymous function returning those items that are available inside of here as an object here, and assigning that, right? We're running that we're immediately invoking that function, and we're returning these values from the function, from the anonymous wrapper, to this reference variable. So when we do counter.increment, we are using this function, which is the property of counter, right? Because what this anonymous wrapper is returning is an object with two properties, increment and decrement. And increment is running this inner function, which is adding, in this case, a positive integer of 1. So if you have 1 plus 1, it'd be 2. And then for decrement, it's adding a negative number, which, if you're familiar in math, would just decrement, reduce the value by 1. If you add 1 plus -1 is 0. So holy cow, man, that's crazy, right? So this is the concept that runs state in React, and this is a wonderful example of JavaScript's funky lexical scoping, and another example of an immediately invoked function. So again, going through this, we have this variable, this constant variable, we're assigning it an anonymous function, and inside of that anonymous function we have this variable, private counter. We have this function, change value, which accepts a value and updates a private value with whatever is passed to it plus, right, plus equals whatever we pass to it plus whatever was there. And then we're returning an object that has two properties, increment and decrement. Those are functions that either run change by with a positive integer, a positive 1, or run it with a negative, which reduces the value. And then I added this in here to help you guys see what's really going on here. And if you're not familiar with what this is doing, we're just grabbing by ID the element up here, this paragraph, and then changing the font size to 25 pixels, the color to blue if we're going up, red to go down, and then the value of what's inside of here. And then so we have those two functions, and then we are immediately calling that wrapper. And so that's what's placing those properties onto counter. That's what allows us to do counter.increment here. So, holy cow. I hope that has been I hope that has been helpful for you guys. I hope that you find this interesting. If you'd like it, give a thumbs up. Comment below what you guys' thoughts are on this trifecta of craziness from JavaScript, closures, lexical scoping, and immediately invoked functions all at the same time. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, click, 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 and you will be notified of the next video. Take care, guys.